The top stories tonight in Y News. The Philippines has filed yet another diplomatic protest against China over the close-distance maneuvering of a Chinese ship in Scarborough Shoal.
The Department of Education is crafting a learning recovery plan to addressing learning gaps due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
The Department of Health warns the public against getting more than the advised number of COVID-19 vaccine doses, saying it is dangerous.
Ahead of the sixth round of peace talks between Russia and Ukraine, President Vladimir Zelensky claimed that Ukrainian forces have retaken Irpin, which is a key town outside the capital, Kyiv.
Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Tuesday, March 29, 2022. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. I am Herlene Delgado.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website, untvweb.com. I am William Theo.
First in the news, the Philippines has logged another diplomatic protest against China over the recent close-distance maneuvering of one of its vessels in the disputed West Philippine Sea. Rosalie Cons explains why.
National Task Force for the West Philippine Sea Chairperson Secretary Hermogenes Esperon confirmed that they have filed a new diplomatic protest against China over the close-distance maneuvering incident in Bajo de Masinloc, also known as Scarborough or Panatag Shoal. The Philippine Coast Guard or PCG reported a close encounter with a Chinese vessel in the area. It happened on March 2 and was the fourth close-distance maneuvering incident in Panatag Shoal vicinity. PCG condemned the incident and insisted it is a violation of the 1972 international regulations for preventing collisions at sea. Meanwhile, Malacanang reiterated the Philippines' full sovereignty in Scarborough Shoal. Malacanang responded to Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Wang Wenbin's statement, saying that the contested territory is China's inherent territory. He added China hopes that the Philippine ships will respect China's sovereign rights and interests and avoid interfering with the patrol and law enforcement of the China Coast Guard. Bajo de Masinloc is under the administration of Province of Zambales. The 2016 ruling of the Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague, Netherlands, invalidated the 9-dash claim and historical rights of China in the South China Sea. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, amid the rising fuel prices, the Civil Aeronautics Board assures the public that there is no fare hike on commercial airlines. Eileen Cerudo will tell us why.
Based on the assessment of the Civil Aeronautics Board, there is still no need to increase the airfare for commercial flights. The fuel prices, according to the agency, are still within the fare range implemented by various airline companies.
Sa ngayon po, wala naman po kaming nakikita na pagtaas ng fares. Kasi po ang fares na ipinapatupad ng ating mga airlines ay range po yan. May pinakamababa at may pinakamataas.
Airline companies also follow a fare matrix that dictates the price for the fuel surcharge. The fuel surcharge, the additional fee paid by passengers apart from the base airfare, was re-implemented by the Department of Transportation in 2018. The Civil Aeronautics Board explains the fuel surcharge will depend on how high or low fuel prices are.
Kung papalo sa ganitong presyo ang langis ay may karampatang pagpataw ng fuel surcharge na hindi na kailangan ng mahabang diskusyon. So sa ngayon po, yan pa rin po ang table o matrix na ipinapatupad ng ating mga airlines at wala pa pong paggalaw ang policy natin dyan.
This is what airline companies currently follow. Meanwhile, the board and other agencies continue to review the fluctuating fuel prices to determine whether it is appropriate to recalibrate the fuel surcharge matrix. Meanwhile, the CAB estimates 1.5 million passengers in the NAIA Terminal 4 this year. This is lower than the 3 million passengers that the terminal can accommodate. The Manila International Airport Authority resumed operations in NAIA Terminal 4 after almost 2 years of closure due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Sa ngayon, sa bilang ng mga ruta na nandoon, natatansya natin na nasa mga 30,000 ang pasahero weekly kung mapupuno ng mga airline operators yung kanilang bilang ng operations doon ngayon. At papalo yan ng mga 1.5 million lang po annually.
The CAB reminds the public anew to arrive at the airport as early as possible due to the slight delays brought by the implemented minimum health and safety protocols inside the terminal. Eileen Cerudo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Department of Health reminded the public to follow the prescribed number of COVID-19 vaccine doses as recommended by experts. Aiko Miguel reports why.
The Health Department recently conducted a survey why some are still hesitant to get their booster shot. Health spokesperson Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergeres said, one main reason is some believe their primary series is enough to provide them protection against COVID-19, while others opt to believe false information that booster shots will only bring them harm than good. Even other senior citizens think the same way.
Pangatlo po, yun pong ating mas nakakatanda. Enough na daw sa kanilang 2 doses. Meron na daw silang mga angking mga sakit sa kanila. So kung magkakaroon daw pa sila ng additional pa, ay ayaw na nila.
Health experts also discovered that there are individuals hesitant to get their booster jab because they had more than 4 COVID-19 shots. This manner is dangerous according to health experts and infectious diseases experts.
May mga bakuna po na yung characteristics nila, pag binibigay mo ng masyadong madalas at maikli yung interval, maaaring actually bumaba yung kanilang effectiveness, lalo na dun sa mga bakuna na yung puro antibody at the level of the spleen, yung ating lapay lang nangyayari, nagkakaroon po tinatawag na antibody exhaustion. So wag po tayo mag-experiment.
Pagka dumating na itong mga second and third generation vaccines that are now under development, baka dahil pinangunahan natin yung recommendations ay ma-disqualify tayo dun sa pagtanggap ng mga mas makabago at mas mabisang mga bakuna.
The DOH is closely monitoring reports of those who have taken COVID-19 shots beyond the required number. 4th dose is yet to be administered for some sectors in the country, as the DOH is still waiting for the Food and Drug Administration's go signal. As of March 28, 2022, about 33 million Filipinos are still unboosted. 11.8 million have received their booster shot. There are now 65.7 million fully vaccinated Filipinos. This is 73.02% of the country's target population. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, the Department of Education is crafting a recovery plan to address the learning gap of students due to COVID-19 pandemic. Janice Inhente will give us the details live. Yes, Janice, good evening. Go ahead.
Yes, William, good evening. As more schools open its door to students for the physical classes, the Department of Education found the need to address some learning gaps in students due to COVID-19 pandemic. In the past 2 years, the DepEd has implemented distance or blended learning in order to continue the learning of students despite restrictions. However, despite the department's effort to reach all students, some students still have difficulty keeping up with lessons due to the challenges of the new education system. That is why the department is now crafting a learning recovery plan framework as part of the department's post-pandemic effort to address the learning gap of students. The recovery plan will include extending school calendar, expanding of learning time, establishing learning support center in school and community-based learning spaces, conduct summer learning remediation and intervention programs, and hiring additional learning support aides. DepEd also plans to strengthen existing learning interventions such as reading, regular home visitation, holding a virtual and physical group study, and hire parents or guardians, teacher volunteers, and develop appropriate assessment tasks and resources. Also part of the recovery plan to be developed is the departments to social, emotional, and behavioral recovery, or students' communication and interaction. But according to DepEd, it will still go through extensive consultation to ensure that the said program is appropriate and will fit to the needs of students as well as teachers and parents who will participate in its implementation. William, according to DepEd, the first phase of the said learning recovery plan is expected to be implemented this summer, while its second and third phase will be implemented in the next school year 2022-2023. Back to you, William.
Yes, thank you very much, Janice and Hente, reporting live.
More than 3,000 persons are currently staying in evacuation centers in Batangas due to the continued unrest of the Taal volcano. National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, or NDRMC spokesperson Mark Timbal said evacuation efforts are underway, especially in areas that are considered high risk.
Tuloy-tuloy po ang ating evacuation activities na pinangungunahan ng ating mga local government units dyan sa may high-risk areas na napit dyan sa Bulkang Taal. Okay naman po yung ating mga kababayan dahil tuloy-tuloy po yung pagbibigay ng family food packs mula sa LGU. Ang provincial government naman po ng Batangas ay may augmentation supplies at nakaantabay po ang supply sa Regional Disaster Council pati sa National Disaster Council.
The NDRMC said a total of 3,771 individuals or 1,142 families are taking shelter in 17 evacuation centers. Meanwhile, around 200 families who have fled their homes are staying with their relatives or friends. The Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology, or PHIVOLCS, said it recorded 3 more phreatomagmatic bursts and 8 volcanic earthquakes in Taal volcano in the past 24 hours. Taal volcano remains under alert level 3, which means that succeeding eruptions are possible due to a magmatic intrusion at the main crater. The NDRMC assured that relief supplies are sufficient if the Taal unrest continues.
The Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, is set to announce a number of deactivated voters and those removed from the voters list due to death on Thursday. Dante Amento tells us why.
For the sake of transparent and credible elections on May 9, 2022, the poll body will release on Thursday the number of registered voters who already died and subsequently removed from the voters list. Their names will be posted in every COMELEC office in municipalities and cities. Commissioner George Erwin Garcia explains they cannot immediately delist voters that recently died because it has to undergo a process. It needs a certification from the civil registrar, which will be regularly submitted quarterly to the Commission.
Minsan po ay kasalanan din naman ng mga civil registrar. Kasi under the law, under Republic Act 8189, kinakailangan po kasi yung COMELEC ay mabigyan ng certification, listahan, kung ilan ang namatay sa quarter na yon. Minsan po hindi kagad nabibigay. Ang COMELEC po, kahit na alam nilang namatay na si Aling Maria, si Ka Pedro, hindi po pwedeng basta tanggalin yon. Kinakailangan may certification from the civil registrar.
Garcia added they will also release the total number of deactivated voters after failure to vote in the past 2 consecutive elections.
Maganda po na maipakita namin sa COMELEC yung breakdown per region, per province. Ilan ba ang tinanggal dito sa Western Samar na mga namatay na o mga na-double registrant? Para din po alam nila na kaya pala naman kumonti ang bumoto sa bayan na to dahil madami hindi nakaboto noong 2019 at 2018 barangay SK election.
The poll body is inclined to the President's mandate to have a free, orderly, and fair elections as part of his legacy. Meanwhile, Garcia disclosed that it is necessary to resume working on the distribution of voters' IDs right after the 2022 elections. Voters' IDs can be used to verify the identity of voters during the election. Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
30 areas in the Calabarzon region have been identified as election areas of concern by the Philippine National Police. Leia Ilagan reports why.
The Calabarzon Police placed 5 cities and 18 municipalities in the yellow category list of election hotspots, while 7 other municipalities are under the orange category. These cities include Cavite City, Trece Martires and Bacoor in Cavite, Binyan and Santo Tomas in Laguna, while the municipalities include Amadeo, Noveleta and Naik in Cavite, Calawan in Laguna, Bawan, Laurel, Mataas na Kahoy, Balayan, Calaca, Calatagan, Lemery, Lian, Nasugbu, Taal and Tuwi in Batangas, San Mateo in Rizal, Mulanay and Infanta in Quezon Province.
There is an occurrence of suspected election-related incident in the last 2 elections, provided that there was no participation of domestic terror groups, partisan political rivalry. There is possible employment of partisan armed groups by candidates in the area. There is occurrence of politically motivated election-related incident in the current election period, and the area has been previously declared under COMELEC control.
Areas that are included in the orange category are the municipalities of Rosario and Kawit in Cavite, Rodriguez in Rizal, General Luna, Nakar, Lopez and Catanawan in Quezon Province.
Under orange category, there is combination of 2 or more factors under category yellow. Plus, there is a serious armed threat posed by the New People's Army and other rogues elements and groups analogous to this threat group of the CPP-NPA like Bangsamoro, Islamic Freedom Fighters, Abu Sayyaf, and rogue elements of MNLF and or MILF.
Police Brigadier General Antonio Yara said they have deployed an additional number of personnel in the areas under yellow and orange category.
So our operations are now focused on the conduct of COMELEC checkpoints, security patrols, and security preparations to secure our polling centers to be used these elections, plus the storage hubs of election paraphernalia and other establishments that will be used in the coming elections.
Yara adds they have also continued coordination with the COMELEC, Armed Forces of the Philippines, Coast Guard, and LGUs for the peaceful elections in May. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
An official from the Partido Demokratiko Pilipino Lakas ng Bayan or PDP-Laban, Kusi Wing, is hoping that President Rodrigo Duterte will endorse the candidacy of Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. Nel Maribohok will tell us why.
President Rodrigo Duterte is expected to attend the grand rally of the PDP-Laban Kusi Wing in Cebu City on March 31, Thursday. According to PDP-Laban Secretary General and Acting Cabinet Secretary Melvin Matibag, the President will endorse his candidates for the 2022 polls.
So March 31, Thursday, that will be the first public appearance of PRD to endorse the candidacy of PDP-Laban.
Matibag is also hoping that President Duterte will endorse presidential candidate Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr.
I don't want to speculate, but as a PDP-Laban who made already the endorsement of Senator Bongbong Marcos to be the next president, I'm also hoping that the president will make a personal endorsement.
The PDP-Laban official said Duterte is expected to attend around 20 campaign rallies of the party. Matibag explained that while the PDP-Laban officially endorsed Marcos' presidential bid, it is still up to President Duterte, the party chairman, to directly endorse his preferred candidate for the presidency. In a chance interview in Zamboanga City, BBM is still hopeful of Duterte's endorsement.
Alam mo naman si Presidente, he keeps us on our toes eh. So I hope so.
Nel Maribohok, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Robredo ticket continues its Eastern Visayas campaign in the province of Leyte, a considered stronghold of his closest rival, Bongbong Marcos. This report will tell us why.
Presidential candidate and Vice President Leni Robredo and her running mate Senator Francis Pangilinan toured the province of Leyte and Eastern Samar as part of their Eastern Visayas campaign trail. In her speech in Palo, Leyte, Robredo thanked their volunteers for organizing the event despite the hardships. Despite her loss in Leyte in 2016, Robredo noted that she did not forget extending help in the province during her stint as the Vice President.
Kahit po talo ako dito, nung wala ng eleksyon, tuloy-tuloy yung aming pagtulong. Nung ako po nakaupo na bilang Vice President, wala na akong tiningnan na kulay. Nung pagkaupo po natin, marami po tayong mga livelihood programs na dinala dito sa lalawigan ng Leyte. Marami pong mga krisis na dumaan. Naalala ko, ako mismo yung pumunta nung nagkaroon ng lindol dito noong 2017.
Robredo also conducted a dialogue with farmer communities in Maslog Town who were program beneficiaries of the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict, or NTF-LCAC. In the 2016 vice presidential race, Robredo lost to Bongbong Marcos in Leyte by over 164,000 votes. Leyte is considered a Marcos bailiwick, being the hometown of former First Lady Imelda Marcos and with the prominence of the Romualdez clan. Earlier, Leyte Governor Leopoldo Petilla backed the candidacy of Marcos. The Leni Kiko team also attended campaign rallies in Ormoc City in Leyte and in Borongan City in Eastern Samar, where she also met with barangay leaders and people's organizations for covenant signing. Eastern Samar Representative Maria Fe Abunda also expressed her support for the Leni Kiko tandem. Earlier, Eastern Samar Governor Ben Evardone also endorsed Robredo's presidential bid. Harleen Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Homes for the second time in weeks. Marvy Delphine will tell us why live. Marvy?
LC Emergency Services issued new evacuation orders on Monday and Tuesday across northern New South Wales in Australia. This forces families to re-evacuate as life-threatening flood hits the area once again. The thunderstorms are caused by a low-pressure system sitting off the coast, bringing showers in the entire region. 7 evacuation orders were issued for the surrounding area in the northern rivers, Tambalgam, North, South, and East Lismore, Lismore CBD Basin, and Gerrards Hill. Moreover, further flash flooding is predicted for the northern rivers, northern tablelands, and mid-north coast, as rainfall could intensify to 6 hourly totals of between 200 and 300 millimeters. According to Lismore Mayor Steve Craig, residents are still suffering from fatigue from the disastrous floods that hit just weeks ago. Meanwhile, according to Jonathan Howe from the Bureau of Meteorology, this weather condition won't be as long as the previous rainfall, and it will ease towards the end of the week. Elsie?
Marvy, is the current weather situation in New South Wales, Australia, expected during this time of the year?
Elsie, according to Dr. Nina Ritter of UNSW Climate Change Research Center, the La Nina weather pattern that drenches Australia for the second year now is definitely an effect of climate change. Back to you, Elsie.
Thank you, Marvy Delphine, reporting live from Australia. Uninsured COVID patients in the United States might soon start paying for a PCR COVID test previously covered by the government, as Congress continues to stall on passing a proposed COVID-19 and aid worth billions of dollars. Quest Diagnostics, one of the largest testing providers in the USA, said that they will charge $125 for a PCR test going forward. The testing provider said it can no longer reimburse clients and patients for uninsured claims without new funding from Congress. Other major retailers of COVID testing kits, such as CVS, Walgreens, and Rite Aid, haven't announced their decisions yet, but have acknowledged that access to COVID care will be disrupted without new funding. Meanwhile, 31 million Americans did not have access to health insurance in 2021. a large number of population that could be affected by this change as the new COVID wave driven by the BA2 Omicron subvariant spreads rapidly throughout the country. Ukrainian forces were able to reclaim some areas of the country ahead of Russia-Ukraine talks, which started today. Serbisyong Bayanihan will give us the details live. Good evening, Cherise.
Good evening, Elsie. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky declared that the country has retaken the Kyiv suburb Irpin, where some of the heaviest fighting near the capital happened. However, the fighting continues, according to the president.
Звільнили Ірпінь. Молодці. Вдячен кожному і кожній, усім, хто працював на цей результат. Окупантів відштовхують від Ірпеня, відштовхують від Києва. Проте все ж зарано говорити про безпеку в цій частині нашої області. Бойові дії тривають.
Apart from Irpin, Ukraine also reclaimed control over the town of Trostianets in the eastern region. President Zelensky revealed that the situation in Chernihiv, Sumy, Kharkiv regions, Donbas, and southern Ukraine remain tense and very difficult. According to officials, Russia is concentrating more its operation on Donbas, where Moscow-backed rebels have been waging a separatist war for the past 8 years. Meanwhile, Ukraine and Russia opened its face-to-face talks today in Istanbul, Turkey. But even before the event, the Ukrainian president already declared Ukraine's priority and goal.
Пріоритети у переговорах відомі. Суверенітет, територіальна цілісність України не підлягають сумніву, дієві гарантії безпеки для нашої держави обов'язкові. Очевидна і наша мета – мир і якнайшвидше відновлення нормального життя в рідній нашій державі.
President Zelensky also pronounced the country's preparedness to declare its neutrality ahead of the talk. Elsie?
Thank you, Serbisyong Bayanihan, for that live report. North Korea plans to develop stronger and more powerful striking capabilities days after the country's first intercontinental ballistic missile launch since 2017. Nerissa Dando will tell us why live. Yes, Nerissa?
Good evening, Elsie. North Korea's Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un vows to equip his country with more formidable means of attack to improve and expand their nuclear war deterrence and security. Kim expressed his resolve to build the country's attack system against threats and blackmails and increasing pressure on imperialist countries. This includes the Biden administration after urging the North to drop its nuclear diplomacy in exchange for economic and political benefits. The launch of the ballistic missile has been condemned by its neighbors and including South Korea and Japan, as well as the US, saying that this first launch may be a precursor to additional launches involving nuclear devices in the near future. South Korea on Monday also advised of signs that the North may likely be rebuilding its previously destroyed underground nuclear testing tunnels and that a nuclear test launch will be a serious threat to international security. The US has encouraged North Korea to discuss without preconditions, but the North has responded that the US must first drop its hostility against them.
So, Nerissa, what are some known facts about the North's latest ballistic missile?
Elsie, the missile Hwasong E-17, said to be the North's longest range weapon, is standing at 25 meters and estimated to be the world's biggest rolled mobile ballistic missile system, and that the missile is believed to be intended for carrying multiple nuclear devices. Back to you, Elsie.
Thank you, Nerissa Dando, for that live report. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I am Elsie Marcos, live from Auckland, New Zealand. Good evening.
And before we close, we will leave you with a word, giving glory to God. From the book of Psalms, chapter 101, verse 5. It says, "Whoso privily slandereth his neighbor, him will I cut off. Him that hath a high look and a proud heart will not I suffer." And those are the reasons behind the news, March 29, 2022. Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I am Herlene Delgado.
And because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.